What's up, everyone? Rambo Ray here, back at it again with another game within the game episode. Today we're going to be overviewing Mercado Hardpoint. Get ready to win some rotations, fam. All right, fam, we got a long one today. We got 7 different hills to talk about. Someone was like, 5 isn't enough. Let's do 7 hard points. So for that reason, we got a longer video today. I hope you guys enjoy all this. So we have 2 main spawn points for the good side. We have back alley and bottom P2. The opposite side, quote unquote bad side, has 4 different locations, but the main one you're going to see used is the P3 / front P3 or like P5 area, which is located right in the middle of your screen. So first things first, today we got a new addition to the video. We got an ideal setup mini-map located on the right side of your screen. The green stars are basically player locations. The circles are quote-unquote like the good area and the bad area to defend. So I put defend there. You're going to see some of the different circles that have block on them. And then the red arrows are kind of like the main choke points you're trying to watch when you're holding an ideal setup. So it's going to be changing for areas. So we're kind of overview a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it's mostly for you guys to see. I saw a lot of comments in the last video talking about that. So P1 is more of a setup hill. You really want to be holding the P2 side of the map. I think most of you kind of understand that by now, but the mentality should be to get time when you can. But if you're in a position where the opposing team has control of time and has map control, you want to be careful in pushing out of your spawn. You really want to control that back alley area on the bottom right side of your mini map where number 2 is. Those are the most vital kills because those will give you the rotation for P2. Look at that. We got a nice little sound for it this time. No more Rambo Ray saying cha-ching. All right, P2. Main spawn point you want to be controlling is back alley. This is our first money hill of the map. There's a lot of money hills. Technically, almost every hill on this map can be a money hill, but we're going to kind of like overview the main ones that I feel are going to be obvious for you guys, especially the ones playing rank play where you're not necessarily coordinated enough as a team to kind of control the whole map. So obviously the good spawns are on the P7 side of the map in the parking lot, and then the opposite side being CT side are the quote-unquote bad spawns. So in most scenarios on P2s, the start of the hill will really rely on you holding a tight setup, as we see on the map here with LA Thieves and how they're playing it. You really want to try and control as many angles as possible, and then once you get kills, you're able to push out those side lanes to create the ideal scenario that you see on the map on the right side, which is basically revolves around cutting off the right side of the map, controlling back alley, and forcing your enemies to spawn on the CT side of the map. Once you start doing that, your enemies are spawning extremely deep, and it makes it very difficult for them to get a good amount of waves to the hill, and especially on a map like this where you want to rotate early more often than not, it's incredibly difficult for teams to make the right decisions and really allows you as well to chain hills because it forces a team to kind of push for scraps at 30 seconds or just forcefully rotate, which either gives you free time at the end of the hill, kind of what we're seeing now with LETs in this situation. You see FaZe kind of backing off and not really pushing up for map control because they know that if they push and they mess up this break, they can potentially ruin their chances to get a good amount of time on next hill and get chained and basically fall in a deep hole within the start of this game. Lastly, towards the end of the hill, you want to try and flip-flop those spawns. Even though the red circles are obviously not good to have during the hill, when it's time to rotate, it's much easier to get closer spawns and get good momentum, as you see number 6 there spawning in dark. That's crucial to having a good chance to chain the hills. Boom! Look at that. Double cha-chings to start a map. One of the reasons why I really enjoy this map is because of the fact that you can make comebacks. Word to Major Maniac, you should never give up when you play this map. A couple of good holds and a couple of good rotations in a row can easily bring you back. One of the interesting parts on this hill as well is the lateral spawns. When I'm saying lateral is because your enemies spawn to your left and to your right. Typically in Hardpoint, you'll see your enemies spawn on the opposite side of the map on the other side of a hill. The main reason why this is such a money hill is because of how hard it actually is to break once you get to the hard point. Not only do you have to kill the layer players, which is basically 1 and 2 in this point that are pushed out, but once you kill those players, you have to deal with the players that are within the hill, most likely going to be top 10 and bottom 10 behind the snake box. Those are extremely difficult kills to get. You have to use your tacks, use some teamwork, double pushing 2 different doors at the same time to try and get in. So it's really crucial to rotate early this hill. So you have basically the easy play to make, which is holding it. Similar to the previous hill, the spawns you want to hold are basically opposite. They flip-flop during rotation. You want to be the team holding back alley. Obviously, one main choke point is much easier to hold than trying to break through it. So the team here, in this case, LETs, getting a perfect rotation, holding back alley, and making FaZe spawn as deep as you can will basically give them the ideal setup to start the hill because of how well they played their rotation. Someone called the police. That's 3 money hills in a row. Someone's robbing someone. of some hardpoint time. So as we just discussed, we want to force our enemies to push through back alley. To do so, you want to be controlling these bricks / outside garage spawns, which will basically force them to spawn on the opposite side of the map and make them funnel through these hard choke points to push through, like back alley and mid map. There's so many good angles to watch these choke points. It's very, very hard to break once you get this ideal setup going. This gameplay example we got is a perfect representation of what an ideal setup can do on this map and how difficult it can be to break and get those kills. Envoy's being a front layer here, controlling the green P2 side, while his teammate 7 on the minimap here is blocking the opposite side. So FaZe is constantly going to be spawning out towards the left side of the map and being forced to funnel through these hard choke points to push through back alley and middle. Once Envoy dies up front, 100 Thieves is still getting the good spawn. So they know where the pushes come from. They can funnel towards the hill, and FaZe now has to try and break through one double doorway, which again, at the pro level or any kind of level is very hard to do. P5, a very similar setup mentality to P3. The only difference is really the kills you get around the hill aren't as easy because of the fact that you don't have any good positions to hold on the hill. So the main spawn points you want to be controlling are on the hedge side of the map, mostly due because of the fact that you spawn closer to the hill being there, and also you force your enemies to funnel through the garage backside of the hill, and then also mid-map. Much easier choke points to hold. Switching up the game plan, you guys see we got Vegas Legion. Yes, I said it. The Vegas Legion is going to show us a nice little P5 setup here. We got 7 who's going to get the ideal position at yellow van in the middle point of the map. And now him being yellow van here blocks those green spawns, but also forces 100 Thieves now to try to kill him before they push across the midpoint of the map. They can't just run through mid-tunnel. Those are very easy kills for 2-year-old to get, so they're forced to go around. That buys time now for number 5 to come off spawn and have a chance to cut off mid-map. Even though they lose those 2 kills, they still basically funnel Thieves to push to the middle point of the map because of the time on the clock left on the hill, which is going to allow them to outtrade the kills and get all this time on this P5 hill and do a great job of having a chance to come back in this game. More bling, and potentially the biggest bling in this entire game. P6 rotation of Mercado, in my opinion, is one of the top 2, if not most important rotations to win this entire game for any map and mode combination. And I mean it, okay? So yeah, bad spawns on P6, located on the CT side of the map, mostly because the good spawn for P7 and for P1 is located in the back alley side, which is one of the reasons why this rotation is so important to win. If you are trying to break through towards the end of P5, you mostly want to break through back alley. Kind of we saw Vegas set it up there at the end. We're not going to see the ideal setup played out here, but FaZe do a good job of covering the back alley from the hill. Obviously, a lot of good angles to watch back alley from. It's really hard to break through, as we talked about earlier, on different hills, mostly the P4 hill. But main thing here is that Thieves are not trying to flip themselves out. You see how they're taking their time. They're constantly just making sure someone's alive on the right side of the map so that they don't get stuck in chain for P6 and P7 and potentially P1 afterwise. You're still trying to break, but you're always having at least 1 or 2 guys alive to make sure that FaZe don't get to push through and get to flip the map out to put you in the worst position possible. Also, that mentality to be noted might be a little different if Thieves were losing by like 80 points. They might try and push everyone and try and break the hill because they feel like they would need to. But in this case, they don't, and they play this perfectly. All right, hill number 7. Thank God we don't say that too often in these Call of Duty games, because that's a lot of information to kind of take in for an entire map. But P6, P7, and P1, like we talked about, you want to be controlling the back alley side of the map as much as possible. That's how you're going to funnel your opponent's push through these hard to get killed choke points on the garage side of the map. So as we see here, the 2 green circles, even though they're far to the hill, still the correct spawns you're trying to control. And then the opposite side of the map, we're going to see these spawns, 2 main spawns, outside thin and in thin. And if you can get to block those red circles, you will make your opponent spawns in his orange circles, in which I like to call Narnia, in the absolute opposite of the map, which takes literally like 10-15 seconds to run across. So that's the ideal setup you're trying to get to. As much as we like ideal setups and want to basically hold hills for free, on non-money hills like P7 here, they're not going to happen all that often. You really have to be quick on pushing the edges to block the proper spawns to make your enemy spawn as deep as possible, which Steve wasn't able to accomplish here because Ford played his life. Because we don't always get in our ideal setups, it's important to understand that main positions you're going to be given more often than not when you're holding the hill. Number 8 here, being on the back cars, is one of the most important positions to hold for an AR player on this hill because he has multiple different spots he can play. There's like 3 or 4 cars back there, and he can snake all of them, which makes him very difficult to kill. Thank you for watching, guys. Again, leave comments, suggestions, anything you got for me to make my videos better. I'm always open to hearing. I'm leaving you guys with a little old school clip from Ghost Champs preparation. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.
Bottom blue.
Oh my God!
What's inside Owens?
Ah!
Specialist bonus achieved. Securing Charlie.
Ah!
All points held. Defend your positions. Losing Charlie.
Get off me, boy!